At the month of October, I had an experience. Last week, my internet was acting up right in the middle of something really important. And I thought, if this is happening to me, imagine the impact on small businesses. And that got me thinking about how businesses can tap into tech, more specifically start satellite tech, to avoid this kind of disruptions, especially because we recently had bankers come to explain to us the reason why we've had the kind of disruptions we've had in the banking sector that has, we've seen our money hang at different times, isn't it? And so we've spent this month talking about money. We've spent this month talking about navigating the tough times. But what if there's something else? What if there's something that we can do to get around the whole, banking disruption and help your business? If it's a small business, if it's a medium scale business, help your business to thrive, to scale, to do better than it's doing currently. Just what if? Just a what if. So today, let's dive into something new called satellite technology. Some of us already may be exploring it for our businesses. And if you're one of such people, I would like to hear from you. Yes, that space stuff isn't just for the future. It's happening now. It could actually help your business. I've come to learn. And that's why we're talking about it on the show today. Imagine reliable internet in those tricky spots. Being able to, if I say that you can do instant transfer from wherever you are in Nigeria, no matter how rural the area, that you can do a transfer, and then you hear, "Bah," you already know the brand I'm talking about, right? What if that's what, I don't know, that's why I have my guest in the studio actually, to help me understand how businesses are taking advantage of satellite technology. And I want to hear from you. Have you tried satellite services in your business? What's your experience been like? How about you? If you haven't tried it, would you try satellite services for your business? What would that look like for you? We're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. I would like you to share your thoughts with me. Yes, share your story if you have one regarding trying to explore satellite-based solutions to help your business thrive. Yes, you can also send me that text message, WhatsApp message actually. WhatsApp number is 0809-030-6416, 0809-030-6416. Please do not call that number. Just send me a message. Okay, I'll read your messages live in a bit. But first, let's bring in our guest. Call her a big fish and you are not wrong. Thank you so much that she made time for it. I'm talking the MD and CEO of Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited, Madam Jane Egerton-Idehen. I am super excited to have her here making time for this. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, madam?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much for making time. And I'm excited to hear, because I cannot get your presentation at the Startup Start 9 conference off my head. Okay. I remember you use a lot of storytelling to break down really complex terms and we're able to understand it. And I want you to even do much more than that on the show today to help us understand how small businesses can leverage what you do, what the federal government has come to set up, and what it is that's being done within that sector. People to understand it, because we've had it happen for a while, okay? And not much of it is known and understood. And I'm excited to have you here today. Welcome to Talking Figures.
Thank you so much, Choma. So at least for those listening, my name is Jane Nkechi Egerton-Idehen, the MD for NigComm, and I'm very happy to be on the show.
Yeah, okay. So we have a tradition on the show where we just do a little touch up on one or two stories in the world of business. Just you quickly share your thoughts on it, and then we move on to the big story of the day. Are you ready for this? Just two stories. Okay. Let's do two stories, and then we get on. Okay, so we have MTN Nigeria in the news saying that they really think there should be a review of the tariff hike they think that that's the only way that they can actually start making profit, because currently they are working, according to them, they are living on reserve. I mean, MTN is Nigeria's largest telecom operator. They have about 79 million subscribers, and they say they've been struggling. And now they are renewing calls for a tariff hike. Of course, Nigerians say big no. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's an interesting question because you can look at it from two perspectives. Like you said, that's MTN's perspective. Their costs are increasing. Maybe the cost of operation is increasing. As a business owner, we all know when costs increase, business owners look for a way to manage that. One way to manage that is either increase the price of what you sell, or you look for ways to optimize the cost even further. So how can you reduce the cost? How can you, be more efficient so that you don't have to pass that increase in cost to your users or clients? But also from the user perspective, nobody likes their cost increasing. You don't want to wake up today and say, hey, the cost of transporting has gone up, or the cost of whatever cost it is. You don't want to just wake up and find that it's increased. I think that's when it's important to engage. I know we do have engagement forums. I think the NCC, which is the regulator in between, has this engagement forum, where we have consumers and then the operators themselves. Maybe it's a good time to put up such kind of engagement, and we can find a middle ground. Because it's not clear like saying yes. It's not. We know that prices have also, with all the things that have been going on, even globally and all that, prices have somewhat gone up. So the cost of operating most businesses would have gone up. Everybody was insisting that the minimum wage be reviewed.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a fair deal. But I think the best way to do some of these things is to engage. If there's a clear understanding for both parties, then you can find a middle ground.
Middle ground, engagement. Interesting view there. So let's look at the second story, talking about the International Monetary Fund, IMF, said Nigeria's growth prospects has reduced over low crude oil production and severe flooding, among other challenges currently affecting the country's economy. The fund, in its recently published World Economic Outlook, said Nigeria's growth prospects for 2024 dropped to 2.9% from 3.3%. And it blamed downgrade, particularly on the effects of recent inflation, flooding, and oil production setbacks. What comes to your mind when you see these growth projections, especially for an organization like IMF?
Well, what is interesting that's data, isn't it? And I'll speak like an engineer. Data is always to guide you. It's not the ultimate. So when you say this is what the data shows, it means that it becomes a form of guidance to make better decisions. So what is telling us that the trend at which we're going in the data shows that, the prospects won't look good. But I think it's then time to look, what do we do about it? You just mentioned because of oil. Interesting. Because we've always talked about diversifying our economy away from oil. You see that already happen with the oil natives. So another way to refocus is to see the way we can use digital services, just drive the economy that is leaning towards digital technology. And that could mean making sure people are equipped digitally so we can think about what the Federal Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy is doing, where we are doing 3MTT, where we can upskill people technologically that they can even use those skill set to have jobs. And it could be remote jobs. It doesn't have to be physical. So there's a lot we can do in that digital sphere. Digital services, e-services, government. You can open a whole new sector from healthcare to health tech, education to ed tech.
Yeah.
You could create sectors that are just way off, that the total economy is not totally dependent on oil. We have control over it. If you have a redistributed economy, and
that's rising, was it?
Yes, if you go back to the early 2000s, your ICT was 1% of GDP. But we could even make it further distributed. So it's not, you don't want to have a predominance in one sector that then pulls you down, especially if it's a sector where, if you see the traits of the way things are going with climate change and all that, people are moving away from those type, they're moving into more better forms of energy resources. So I'm just saying we could do that. In terms of the natural disasters, it's like saying you have control over storms. We don't. What we can do is mitigate the impact. And one way we can mitigate the impact is to also use technology. You know that you could tell some weather forecasts, the possible rains, tornadoes, storms. And that's where a sister agency comes in, like NASA, that shares the data. And we can use that data to equip, especially industry sectors or individuals that will feel that will be impacted, and be proactive about it. But it doesn't mean you can take away the entire disaster. Just like if I warn you about a storm, doesn't mean that the storm won't happen. It means I could help you mitigate the impact.
Yeah.
People could leave places that will be impacted. Businesses can close up and reduce the impact they would have felt because they won't be in operation when the storm hits. So at least we could save lives. So, but some of those things you don't have total control over, you could mitigate. I think these are some of the things we could do. And that's how I want to read the data. I wouldn't read the data as gloom and doom. I will read the data. So what do you do about it? How do I plan? How do I ensure that these types of things cannot be a direct hit? Or how can I reduce the impact? So that's what I would say to that data.
Very interesting. I like the perspective, and that's one away from the many times people have had to analyze data on the show, and I really like it. Okay, that wraps up this segment of the show. By the way, it's time to look at what I would call the elephant in the room, looking at SAT technology in Nigeria and how businesses, small, medium scale businesses, can leverage satellite technology in Nigeria. What does it look like? What is the federal government doing? Okay, so Madam Jane, when we get back from this break, we'll start with you talking to us about what your agency is doing, and then we go into what you can do for small and medium scale businesses, how they can leverage, what the issues are, how they can be tackled. Okay, because seriously, I like the idea of doing transfer and then I just hear pang. That saves us a lot of time. Honestly, it's a beautiful technology, and I know it's satellite. It has to be satellite, right? That it is satellite. It has to be satellite, and I want. How can we replicate it for every other sector? You just mentioned the health tech, the ed tech, the fintech, all the techs and the new sectors have been created because of technology. How can we replicate that kind of technology, satellite technology, to every other sector that is struggling right now with internet, like banking sector, as we come to know it? So let's go on this break. When we come back, we look even deeper. And if you're listening right now, you own a business, I think you should go call someone to join us, because the MD and CEO of Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited, Jane Egerton-Idehen, is live on the show. We'll go on a break. When we come back, she's got a lot to share. Really actionable insights she's got to share with us today. So stay tuned. My name is Choma Ezenwafo, and this is Talking Figures on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We are back right here at 92.3 Nigeria Info Talking Figures. I have with me the MD and CEO of Nigeria Communications Satellite Limited, and she's done quite a great justice to the first segment of the show, looking at the market watch. She went to the market with me and we looked at the market and analyzed a couple of stories. And let me say, you're still here, right? Madam Jane? Let me turn off this. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so thank you for staying tuned and making time for this, like I said. And I was going to really commend you for doing good justice to the first segment of this show. Doing Market Watch with me meant a lot to me. And I like the perspectives you gave. And yes, it actually pushes that conversation forward. And I look forward to staying on those stories, and I'm hoping that engagement and conversations are had when it comes to what MTN is looking to happen, and then the IMF projections of our growth as a country. Now let's look at the main topic of today on the show, looking at the satellite technology. I mean, you laid, let's say you watered the ground before the break, looking at all of what's happened, in the sectors that we are and what technology is doing to it. And like I said, I want to always do my transfer and I just hear, pa. Like I said, also, I do not want to advertise any brand, but I know that when I say that, someone already knows the people that are doing us this good. Okay, and how with the CBN whole currency situation that happened a couple of years back, we started experiencing that, and it's actually satellite tech that made that possible.
You can also do what we call remote sensing or disaster monitoring, and I will come to that. Now, the engine of every economy, is also these SMEs. At the end of the day, if you look at the what really drives the economy is SMEs. At the end of the day, they might be small, dispersed, but there are loads of them. And of course, Nigerians are very entrepreneurial. So enterprising is something that is big for us. But the data also shows that these SMEs, they're not all in the cities. They're not all in the urban areas. They're mostly in rural, deep rural, semi-rural areas.
True.
People think that Nigeria is not just the capital states. Nigeria is way beyond. That guy that is going to a farm and sell his product is not living in Lagos, Port Harcourt. That guy that is running that small store selling things to his neighbors, or he's not always in the city. But the truth is that infrastructure, when it comes to communication infrastructure, is first delivered in the cities. Fiber, even the mobile operators, because we see it as commercially viable. And sometimes we tend to forget that the people in the rural areas or semi-rural areas need to be covered. And sometimes it's just the economics, the cost of laying fiber to take it over to those 50 people might be too expensive. Think of laying it from the city all the way to some remote place with 50 people living, or in the middle of an island with how many of them. So it might not be commercially always viable to do that. And that's where complementary technologies tend to stand out. And when I mean complementary technologies like satellite. Because of these difficult to reach areas that the traditional ones can't do, satellite comes in. But also because when it's deep rural, satellite makes sense because we don't have to lay all that fiber. I don't have to put up a base station that I'll be looking for the return on investment in a short time. Because I'm also mandated by the government to help create the coverage, I am willing to go. And satellite is easy. Just think about your DSTV dish. For those of you that have one, it's just that dish and a small modem. So we always say if there's a sky, we can give you connectivity. And we're not looking for the multiples of people to give us a return because it's a small device compared to the area is going to cover. So it starts to really make sense for these rural areas. And rural areas means businesses, it could be that small alone, or it could be just those things. Services give them structure. They can online, use internet, and music. Sometimes the state, we can broadcast anywhere the satellite is very good in that scenario. They don't have access to maybe the advanced or comprehensive healthcare system in the center, which could be in the urban areas where you have the teaching hospitals. So that's where satellite connectivity comes into play. So the use cases are endless. Oil and gas, because that one also is quite a common, because oil and gas, they really stocked on the rigs. They're just in the middle of the ocean.
Ocean, yeah.
When they have all this offshore, satellite becomes the easiest use cases to put connectivity on trains and plane. Those kind of complex situations is satellite. A moving train, a flying plane, it is satellite. There's nowhere else to put connectivity.
Because I've often wondered now, MD, that we find that some countries, when you're flying, you don't have to turn off your phone. You can watch. You can still use your normal.
Because there can be connectivity.
But in Nigeria, everyone wants you to turn off. They go around to make sure you turn off.
But that's the Nigeria we envision. In Nigeria, where we can put connectivity, because we already have the satellite, we can put connectivities on these planes and people will use it. We want to put connectivities on the train, especially when it's a long haul route. So I know short haul, if you just say
from Kaduna to Port Harcourt, for instance.
But 2 hours, think about Lagos to Kaduna, Lagos to Maiduguri, Warri to. We want to put connectivity, and those are the use cases we want people to experience the power and the potential of this asset we have.
Interesting. But I don't know how long that's going to take for us to experience it the way you've actually cast a vision in my head. And it's looking really like we shouldn't all jackpot, right? Because what we experiencing abroad can happen here in Nigeria. That's what you're showing with this, what you're just talking about.
It looks like there'll always be an element of jackpot, isn't it? Because we have very smart people. We like to showcase the talent, but we don't want to jackpot out of out of frustration.
Yes, we want to just go explore other cities and return.
Talent as well, explore, come back and share. But what we are saying is that there is so much this asset can do. We are speaking to government agencies alike, companies that don't know us, SMEs, individual. This is what NigComm can do, and that's why we are having this conversation. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, we don't know, we don't understand." Now we are having these conversations, and also in the background, we are speaking to these companies and agencies without mentioning names, because we also want to show the use cases. We want people to be proud to use our asset, infrastructure, give people access.
That option, the satellite is expensive, is it? Truly, so for small businesses, can they really afford it?
If you do compare it literally, it could look expensive, because how much is a SIM card? Maybe, I don't know, 200 naira for free. But you have to buy the satellite dish and modem, isn't it? Well, like your DSTV, you have to buy the dish and modem. But you have to compare it to the value it brings. It is actually affordable. And the government is making a lot of effort that we make it affordable and accessible. So it won't be something you're going to be cutthroat, because we know people that are buying competitions equipment. So we will definitely make sure that we will bring it to a place that is affordable. And that's a lot of effort we're doing, trying to work with state governments and agencies to make it accessible and affordable.
Now, what would you say to SMEs who are really worried about cost?
Well, I think you could look at it the other way. It could be cost or it could be value. So if you're saying spend 500K to set this thing up,
and is a one-off,
and pay 50,000 naira every month, because you have to pay for the bandwidth. It's like anything connectivity, you have an OPEX, which is the bandwidth you consume. But if you do that, even though your business is in Kafanchan, anywhere in Nigeria, customers can reach you, because you'll be online. They can reach you. You can access them. You can even ship whatever you have from Kafanchan.
And you don't have to have your headquarters in Lagos anymore.
Going there. You don't need to have your headquarters. You can chat with them online. They will place that. If you make them inclusive, they could even create new sectors for us. Things we're not aware that could be done will now be, we'll see that happen, because no matter where they are now connected to the center and to a wider access or a wider market.
Very interesting. Now the phone lines are open. You can call us if you have questions for Egerton-Idehen, the MD CEO, NigComm. That's the Nigeria Communication Satellite Agency, the federal government agency that's ensured that our satellite. Yes, I think you said that Nigeria is the only country in West Africa that owns a satellite.
A communication satellite, yes. So you have communication like a Senegal that launched one. You have Ghana, but they are small educational satellites, and they only last for about 9 months or 18 months. They only last for about 9 months or 18 months. The communication satellite we have has been there for 11 years.
Okay. So I mean, we should be proud in, right? So how are you going to leverage this satellite? If you're a business owner, you can call me up 0817-923-0002. And you can also call 0817-923-0003. If you perceive there are challenges, real challenges around getting around using, apart from costs, there are challenges that you perceive, and you could have questions. You could call me up and let's ask her and let's understand what it is. What do you think is stopping you from leveraging? Like I said, my closest experience of this lighting, because even the one you mentioned earlier about the one for TV is actually not very efficient, because when there's rainfall, it fluctuates. A lot of issues over the years that they've not been able to fix. That's a different one, right? But at least this particular
so
one,
is the band it is transmitting in. So satellite you can transmit in different bands: C band, Ka band, Ku band.
Okay.
But you realize that as technology gets better, it gets better. So you notice that now, if the rain starts, your line, it doesn't go off.
Okay.
The rain has to be heavy for it to actually shut down.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So, the phone lines are open. 0817-923-0007. If you're listening right now and you don't know what we're talking about, you can also call and tell us, I don't know what people are talking about. And maybe the MD would break it down even further for us to really understand. But I think it's like I said, the simplest way, please, without making me call the name of this fintech company, that once you do your transfer like this, every business owner, at least in the entire East West Road on where our studio is, every business owner uses it. And then the moment you do your transfer, you just say, "Pah!" It has entered, like we say. There's no delay of whatsoever compared to others. You have to wait forever. That is a satellite you're experiencing there. And so the question of how we can replicate it is what she's been answering. And the fact that Nigeria has a communication satellite and has had it for 11 years, how can SMEs leverage it is also what she's been talking to us about. If you have questions, 0817-923-0009, that's the number that you can call to ask that question. And I would like to know your thoughts. Is it something you're willing to embrace? Is it something you're willing, because from what she's explaining, it actually means that you can go to any remote village in Rivers State, any remote village, anywhere at all, and just cut the cost of every other thing. And it won't matter anymore whether you are in the, highbrow areas. Am I correct? It won't matter anymore, because sometimes you want to move to the urban cities because of network and internet connection and all of that. It won't matter anymore if you have that level of internet connectivity. The location that you are in, you can just be there and serve your customers from anywhere in the world, because they can always reach you. Customer phone lines and the rest of them can always go through. And I mean, that's like the dream. I don't know. But let me ask, do we have any of this going on right now? Or is it something that's still going to happen? Let me be sure that I am not. Do we have any of this going on right now?
Oh, we do. We have a lot of individuals that are using our service. Also, without mentioning names, I do know we do have a couple. They're probably using it in their village. A couple of high-end clients, maybe when they are in the city, then when they go to their village for Christmas or whatever, there's no connectivity because there's no coverage there. We have a lot of broadcasting institutions, organizations, companies that use us, I'm happy to say NTA uses us. We backhaul their traffic.
Okay.
Taraba TV.
So especially state-owned.
There's a couple of
state-owned.
Even churches that actually we carry their traffic for broadcasting. We also have clients in the defense sector. Maybe I wouldn't mention name there because they really need us, because sometimes they operate in very difficult terrains where there is no coverage. And, they are serving us in a special way and protecting us, protecting our national sovereignty. They also need to be able to communicate, even when they're in a place that is hard, be it in the middle of the ocean, in the air. If they're driving in a very dangerous place, they should be able to communicate with command and control. So we service them as well. We have something ongoing we're trying to do with the healthcare sector as well. Agriculture, we have something there as well. Agriculture, not in the way that you know it. It's not just to give connectivity to farmers. In the way that we're helping create smart agriculture, precision agriculture. I think I spoke about it at Startup South, where we are helping, people that are trying to make smart farms. You're using probes, soil IoTs. You're putting them in this soil to measure the soil temperature, the nutrients, the water level. We would help you transport that data to the cloud so you can monitor it from anywhere in the world. That means
Interesting.
you can actually tell when it's time to water your farm or you're over irrigating the farm. You could tell if the nutrients are not proper, then it's time to add your fertilizer or you're over. You can actually manage your farm remotely. And not just that, you could then forecast. You could forecast yield. You can tell yourself, okay, per
The
square
next
meter,
three
per
months.
hectare, based on the data I've seen, I might be able to do this. And then you can even forecast revenue. But you can also do anything you can do on the farm. We can help connect it. So if you're going to do monitoring for like motion sensors, or you have digital cameras, they want to see the boundaries of the farm remotely using a camera, or motion sensors where they want to see if anything is crossing the boundaries as well. So
Okay.
that's smart agriculture. They even have it on the livestock side, geofencing, geotagging, maybe on animals. You put these tags on the animals, but that tag has to be able to, you have to be able to carry that data. And we
Okay.
can carry it in the satellite. So you can then tell where these cows are, or you can tell remotely because you can read the tags. You can tell this is the breed of the cow, this is
Let's
the
take a
time they
call now.
bought it.
Then
There's so much. We could go on. Yeah.
oh, okay. I think I lost that one. So you can call 0817-923-0007. And you can also call 0817-923-0003. Let's go to Facebook. I have a message here on Facebook and it says, good afternoon, Choma. Concerning this matter, businesses can empower their small businesses in Nigeria is one that can only be carried out by the government by subsidizing it, so that it can be easy for business organizations using the internet, because all these mobile networks, they do act up when someone is doing something important. Just a good example, like the printing press, it will be very welcome development. That's Godwin from Alakahia there. And let's see. Now, let me ask about other sectors. What other sector is yet to have you seen that, as someone with experience across Africa, what industries in Nigeria do you think are missing out the most by not using satellite tech?
I would say, okay, they're not misusing is one, they're not using NigComm sat is another. So not using NigComm sat, I would say the oil and gas, because they do, but a lot of them is also, I see it as capital flight. If you're using a lot of the foreign players and you're operating here, you could actually reduce that cost by using NigComm sat. But I
Okay,
think
you're looking at
sectors that could,
NigComm sat now, but I'm talking about sat tech as
yeah,
a
so
satellite
I'm
technology
coming to
generally.
your question. That
Okay.
that is the preface.
Okay.
So back to your question, in sectors that could use it, agriculture. Like I mentioned, seriously, agriculture could use
They
it.
are missing out
Healthcare,
the most.
the health sector, the
Okay.
educational sector. Because if you want to provide education, most of these your schools are really remote. Every school is not in the city and urban areas. Over half of the Nigerian population don't live in the cities. So that's where people are going to go to school at the end of the day. So the educational sector is another sector that really, really is going to be key. So the health, the agriculture sector, the educational sector, the healthcare sector, some other smaller sectors that could use it to enhance their services, like aviation, like I told you on the planes, as well as on the train as well, the railway, because that's another way to. I see it as creating extra value for your clients. It's not like it's do or die, because you can stay on that train. You don't need internet connectivity. You can sleep off for the next 3 hours. But as a business owner, you might want to do some things in those 3 hours so that by the time you get to where you're going, you have created value for yourself. So trains can actually use it as an additional service or value add service they offer to their clients on the train.
Interesting. Now, let's look at business owners. The informal sector is like the backbone of our economy. We've said that severally. And when you look at the informal sector, they're actually made up of mostly women. We have a lot of women in the informal sector. When or you look at the small and medium scale businesses, most of them are owned by women. The data is really shows that there's a lot of women. So for a small, you've been a leader in driving, STEM education for women and girls. So how can female entrepreneurs or female vendors, as it were, tap into satellite technology to build competitive business? You know what the fears for women can be, and access to funds as well. So how can they leverage this?
Yeah, so you're right. So some of the challenges they face sometimes is awareness. They're not even aware, digitally literate. So some of these things are sounding like new information to them.
It is new
Um,
information.
so it's always good to put awareness, digital literacy, so these women know that, oh, if you do this, that's your little thing, your farm that you have, you can sell it and somebody can buy it from the city. But also is to make it, like you said, access to funding. So for that, we are trying to work with like civil societies or non-profits to be able to reach those kind of, because we can create packages for them to support their business. It's not always about being commercially driven. So
Interesting.
that's we're trying to work with civil societies. We're also working with rural operators. We have a couple of them, about 10 of them we are engaged in right now. So rural operators are those operators that extend your standard coverage. So you like an MTN Airtel will have. There are smaller operators that build it out into the rural areas. So we are working with them because if we can work with them, they can even service those smaller SMEs or female-owned enterprises that are in those rural parts. And they're creating programs to also support the women so that when they come, it's a comprehensive solution for them. They can layer things on it that would not just help the woman business, educate her, give her access to other services she might not be aware of that she would need. It could be even power and all. So we are doing that as well because we believe we cannot do it alone. The country is big. We cannot do it alone. So we are
Interesting.
working a lot with partners to help penetrate.
Okay, now before we go on this short break, I'd just like to know, for small businesses that are, what challenges have you seen them face when it comes to adopting satellite technology, and how can they overcome it?
So there's the standard ones, and I know easy to say is a fund because if you're the cost of funds, so most times you see that these things have to be subsidized, and that's why we work with civil societies or non-profit to help subsidize them. But like the second thing I said, awareness, education is also a challenge. Sometimes they don't even know, they don't have the information of what is possible. And that's why they can't even think far ahead about how they can scale their business and how they can use technology to extend or increase their access. So that is the other factors also could be there as well. Other maybe cultural factors in terms of how they expand. Knowing ways to optimize their businesses, and that is where I think more like mentoring or support in some way, not just awareness about technology, but mentoring or educational support on how to run enterprise, how to manage enterprises could be of benefit to these small businesses as well.
Interesting. Okay, how about partnerships between government and SMEs? What else can it look like to help satellite be more accessible?
Partnership with government and SMEs is something that should be ongoing. So it's like actually working with government agencies that deal with SMEs. I know we are talking to, for example, Smedan, because they can access these enterprises or small businesses at scale more than we can.
Okay.
But we can work with them to create packages for them or create training. So there's some discussions happening on the sidelines for that, because I think that's the best way you can do it at scale, as opposed to you trying to go individually to the small business. Is to create packages that can then be bundled with loans.
Stay with us. Nigeria Info. We'll be back. 365 days of